Are you trying to be too literal with these words?
I think so, because I'm like, no, this is an agreement. I thought we had an agreement. I think we even have it on paper somewhere. We wrote down some non-negotiables. So I believe it's a contract now, mister, that you're like, it's an expectation. I'm like, okay, that's a new conversation to have. We need to re-go over our agreements.
Maybe that's not the right example.
Well, maybe it's still the conversation that we need to have, because clearly we have different understandings of it.
We'll make it out and fall in love tonight.
Do you want to get your microphone in place for the start?
I was waiting because I thought I had a sneeze coming.
Oh.
And I don't want to be like,
Starting the podcast off with a sneeze.
With a sneeze.
Actually, I forgot one thing I wanted.
Did you? What did you forget?
Okay.
I
wanted to pull your hair a little bit.
You did.
I know. Turn around. Podcast over.
Back later.
How are you doing? I said it first.
I don't know that you did.
I said it louder.
You did.
That's what matters.
Doesn't mean
whoever's the loudest.
Who's the loudest?
Clearly, that's
bird
the
gets
case in
the
our
worm.
in our freaking country right now, right?
Whoever's the loudest.
Whoever's the loudest wins. Yeah.
Right. Don't be afraid to make some noise.
Do you think we'll ever? I mean, we might at some point in
my glasses.
Maybe next month. Actually, we might discuss a little bit of politicking on this podcast.
Yeah.
What is your general? Actually, let's do it right now. What's your general sense of current state of the nation right now?
This is not the conversation I am prepared
We're switching
to
gears
have
up here on Steph and
right
Craig.
now.
We're going straight
I'm
political.
not going into a political debate
This is what
right
the
now.
new podcast is going to be all about. We're just going hard left or right. I don't know which one is which. We're taking a hard turn in one direction.
We're not. We're not
that's
weird.
all we're talking about.
We're not weird when it comes
We're just
to
talking
political
about politics
views.
from right now.
We have our own political. No.
Yes,
Wait, you're saying we're going to be
it's so important.
Okay. No, I don't.
How
You're
happy?
so funny.
How happy were you? How happy were you when we met?
When we didn't talk about politics?
And you realized that I was not really into politics. Were you super happy? Also, how happy were you when you realized I wasn't super into football? Which were you more happy about? Me not being into politics or me not being into football?
Oh my God.
Which one?
Let's see.
Think back in the beginning, because I know that was really important to you.
You say that you're not. You say that you're not really into politics, but I remember you being very opinionated nonetheless.
Well, that's different.
How is it different?
Because I don't follow, like, other than the I mean, it's hard not to see what's going on in the country right now, right?
Okay.
If you have a cell phone or watch TV at any given point. So it's hard not to, but at the same time, I'm not actively pursuing any of that.
Yeah, but we're
content.
talking at the time, and what it looked like to me
when we first met.
Yeah, it did look like you had very strong opinions. So I wasn't like, this person is free from political opinions.
Well, I had a strong opinion, but I wasn't like into it.
What define into it?
Like somebody that watches it all the time, somebody that's concerned about it, somebody that like has conversations about it a lot. You know,
definitely had conversations.
Okay, Stephanie.
I don't know if you're like, we just have different definitions here. I did think you were into politics. I did not think you were into football.
Which were you happier about?
I don't, it didn't really measure.
What was important to you back then?
Neither of those.
I actually have a genuine question.
Okay.
Not that any of those weren't genuine.
Okay.
Sorry, were you going to ask me?
No, I was going to be like, which one were you happier about? My political connection or football connection or lack of? What were you more happy about?
I was really happy you had some political connections.
Were you?
It was really important
like
to me.
Connection to politics.
I was really glad that you were connected up in D.C.
You know,
you had some really good, they were going to really come in handy for us.
Okay, mister.
All of your political
What's your genuine
connections,
question?
especially when we run. It's going to be great.
Okay. You know what I heard first? This is
yet,
how political my brain is. I was like, "Are we going to start running again?" I don't think I want to.
I'm not into 5Ks.
I don't run anymore.
I'm not interested in 5Ks right now.
Yeah.
No, I have a genuine question for you.
What is it?
And this is going to be a hard question.
Oh, good.
I mean, not like.
Did you just like lighten the mood to come in for the kill shot?
I did.
Oh, here we go.
I got you relaxed.
All right.
And at ease.
Politics is a very light conversation.
It's super calm, right? It's super relaxing. It puts everybody immediately at ease as soon as you start talking politics. No. What are some things that you initially had like conceptions about when it comes to me and our relationship that, you know, after a few weeks, months, years changed? So like, you know, initial, I don't want to say opinions, but things that you know, initial, what's the word I'm looking for? I have been terrible with my words lately.
You're doing so good. You're like
I'm really not.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to get the word that you can't. Like my opinion of you, my perception of you. Is that the word? Okay.
Yeah.
My first
what
perception
were your
of
first
you.
perceptions about me? And do you remember any that were wrong? Do you know what I mean? Like you had like, and then we started living together and, you know, making life together and everything like that, that suddenly you're like, oh, I got that a little wrong.
I do have.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
It's that that your way was always better, that you knew more, and that you were right, and that your family was really healthy and loving, and the way to do it. Like you knew what to do. Your opinion was right, and I was definitely wrong, and that your family was you got that one way off. I did. I really did. I also didn't form that on my own. I also had a little guidance in that direction, but I was also really hungry for that to be true. Right. So
I was too.
Yeah, right? Of course.
Yeah, I was really hungry for that to be true as well.
Right?
Turns out that was a lie.
Well, it wasn't a lie. It was just a misperception, misinterpretation. It was just misinformation.
There you go.
It was just, yeah.
It's fake news.
So that's the one that's really like, okay.
Yeah.
And I think had I known that, our relationship might have been a little different.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
We don't need to go on to that.
I'm so glad that we didn't know what we didn't know when we didn't know it. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, Riddler.
Right?
Absolutely. No, it does though.
Yeah.
No, I know I'm like being snarky and sarcastic right now because I'm feeling defensive.
Some things about one another, you know, we might have made different choices.
I think, you know, I guess we never know, right?
I'm
we
trying
never
to think
know,
through if
but
there's
I think
anything that has been revealed about you that I would have made different choices about. I don't think there is.
Okay.
But I'm also crazy. And during
That's not the compliment you think it was.
Crazy in love with you. I'm crazy in love with you.
So
You're amazing.
You're
go
incredible. Back to...
On today's episode of the podcast, we'll be discussing politics.
Let's go back
to
which is actually safer. Let's go back to now I answered you, and I'm curious, what did you like? It feels like a very tricky, trappy question because it is. But what perceptions did you have about me that you later figured out were incorrect?
You know, I didn't have a ton. Like there wasn't a lot that hasn't, you know, held true in a sense. By and large, for the most part, I feel like I had a pretty good gauge and understanding. And then the surprises and the things along the way and stuff like that. You know, that's just normal kind of run-of-the-mill stuff. You got to learn to deal with stuff when it comes up and learn about each other along the way. And so I genuinely can't think of anything.
Is that the safe answer or the honest answer?
Well, I mean, it would be like little stuff that isn't important. So like, I guess, I mean, if I'm really stretching to try to find something, you know, I guess I didn't have a real good, clear understanding of how you like to hold on to things. And I'm not talking about like, I'm not talking about like stuff that comes up in our relationship or things that I've done wrong.
Like physical
I'm talking
items.
I'm just talking about stuff. You're a big fan of stuff sometimes, and you know, like your micro obsession with receipts.
No.
And making sure that you
can't,
keep track
you
of
can't say stuff.
Receipts.
Hold on. We talked about the beginning of the relationship. You can't talk about something what is developed within the later.
That didn't develop in the relationship. That was totally present.
Receipts?
It just manifested in a different way.
Ooh, I need to look at that.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, it makes sense. There's these apps, and if you take a picture, you get points and maybe cash back. And
No, none of that makes sense. I mean, what you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
But you're like, if we pull up your phone right now, how many pictures of receipts do you have on your phone right now?
Listen.
Just take a guess.
Okay. So the point is sometimes
40?
I don't actually know.
200.
I don't actually know because it doesn't put it in a convenient tab for me.
It's less than 10. I'm sorry, it's more than 10.
It's probably less than 10.
It's not. It's more than 10.
I don't honestly know because I take pictures sometimes so I can upload it with the picture instead of having the actual receipt. But I don't know. A lot of times I get a stack that I'm like, it's either I stay with it or I get overwhelmed by it. And then once I get to a point of overwhelmed, then I just like, fuck it and throw it away.
Yeah.
And then the cycle repeats. So receipts was a big thing for you.
It's a huge thing for me. I've got a lot of trauma around receipt keeping.
Yeah.
No, all of those little
funny.
like idiosyncrasies that people have that start to come out over the course of, it's like after the masks come down, after all the presenting your best, what were some things that, I didn't see that. I didn't see that. But I can't really think of any.
Well, there's a lot there. And just like the receipts itself, I'm like, my brain is like, no, this makes sense. So it makes sense. Let me explain myself. Let me show you why this thing isn't terrible about me because it makes sense. I'm actually doing a responsible. It's weird the way that my brain will justify it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And it's okay.
It's
not that big of a deal.
Well, it's funny that I didn't. Like, it's a thing. It's just another little, like, obviously I'm not going to focus my life now. I'm going to be like, okay, what is my relationship with receipts?
You got to really unpack that.
I got to really, and I can honestly see
we
a lot.
Need to find
it's
you a
because
receipt
of
therapist.
the tax people that scare you. You're like, you remember everything. Anyways.
Do you think that's a component of it?
Oh, absolutely. But it's also not one that I'm not invested in. I mean, if I had boxes of receipts that I was like, we have to keep these forever, then I would spend a little bit more time on them. Okay, I think I might have to find those and throw them out.
I was going to say, be careful what you're saying because I can go grab the box of receipts.
No, those are taxes. See, again, who does it? It's the tax people's fault.
It is the tax people's fault.
It's the 3-letter people.
That we shall not name.
We shall not.
Right? Don't say Voldemort. Don't say Voldemort. Don't say IRS Voldemort.
Oh, well, look at you.
I did it.
You did it.
We're screwed. They're coming for your receipts. Thank goodness you've got them all.
Right.
And we're going to be all right.
I don't. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Now that we've activated
now that we've covered that.
The IRS, we've activated them. So now we have to figure out what our next steps are in life.
I have a fun topic for us.
Do you?
Yeah, it comes from a post. It's not a post, actually. It's a comment on a post. And Teresa Torres, who is super awesome, has been a fan of us for a while, follows us on social. Shout out to Teresa. And I don't remember the context of the post, but it's not really important because this was such a good comment and it has so much that we need to talk about just in this. And it's kind of off of what we were just talking about. One big misconception that is, sorry, I'm going to butcher it, even though it's right in front of me. One big misconception is that expectations and boundaries are the same. They are not. Expectations generally cause a lot of conflict via defensiveness, disappointment, and attempts at negotiations. Boundaries reveal points of compatibility/incompatibility. This applies to any relationship, work, parental, romantic, etc., so on and so forth. So those two things, expectations and boundaries. Let's talk about expectations that we had at the beginning and how many of those were not reasonable and or, where did we line up and meet expectations and where did we kind of, like what expectations do you think you had that weren't fulfilled but also weren't, when I say healthy, I mean, weren't like actual reasonable kind of, that were more about you than about me?
I think this is, I don't know if I can just slingshot an answer there. I feel like that's a really big question and my mind first goes to like some trauma that we'd experienced in our relationship together. But like, I don't like, then you say that, the unreasonable I did have, I think it maybe goes back to my first like perception of like the unhealthiness, right? So I had the perception that was later dismissed or proven, as would be with anybody that you didn't actually, your way wasn't actually better. And
the majority of the time, I
better.
didn't actually know what I was talking about.
No, but like how quickly I would dismiss myself on that. And because your way was the right way, your way, but then it shifted to where, hey, like we had an understanding that your way was the right way. And so when you got it wrong, it was really frustrating. And so it went from a perception to an expectation that wasn't healthy and wasn't good, because then not only did you have, you wanted to be right. And then also if you weren't, then there was like the letdown, the consequences, I don't know how to say it any other way than say punishment, but that makes it sound like I'm like coming at you with a belt, and that's definitely not what it was. But I guess the emotional, like I was upset, I was hurt, I felt like betrayed. If I didn't listen to myself and I expected you to get it right, and even though I betrayed myself on that, I felt like it was a betrayal from you. So that was some really unfair, unhealthy expectations that that we were, I guess for me, myself, I was really messed up when we got together. I was not a healthy partner. I wanted to be, and I thought I could be, and I thought if I loved enough, I would be, but I didn't even know where to begin on starting to work on myself. I knew how to survive, and I knew how to try to find a better way, but as far as like actual self-reflection work, wasn't great at it. So my expectations were really unhealthy and problematic, I think, on that one.
I think I probably had very similar expectations. And what I'm thinking about is kind of like expectations for how it was going to go. I felt like it was going to go really well. I felt like it was going to go, we were going to get together and we were going to move in together and we were going to start creating our life together and blending our families together. And it was just all going to be really smooth sailing. Like I had really big expectations for how all of our kids were going to be getting along really well and how we were going to, literally move into this new house together and just create this beautiful little family.
I knew we were going to.
Right? Really big expectations that I don't even think we necessarily talked about. Like we weren't having, what's the word? We weren't having conversations leading up to any of it. We weren't like planning what we wanted it to look like. We weren't having like these real open conversations with each other about what it was going to look like in regards to blending our families together. And, it was kind of just threw it all in together and figured it out as we went along. But the expectation was that it was going to be way easier than it really was. And the expectation was that, we might have a couple of little, some adjusting that needed to take place. But we kind of didn't take, or at least I should say, right? I didn't take into consideration the 4 other people, meaning our children, and their own wants, needs, their expectations, I wasn't really taking into consideration what it was going to be like for them. And that was a huge failure on my part. And I wasn't even really taking into consideration what it was going to be like for us. I was kind of just thinking that it was going to all work out and be okay.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that it didn't all work out and that it's not all okay, right? I mean, obviously, like anybody else and like any other relationship, there's been issues and problems and hardships and all sorts of different stuff that we've had to navigate. But that was one area I think that we could have done much better at, of just communicating really clearly what our expectations were, what we were both visualizing, what we were both hoping for, what we both wanted. I mean, I knew that we were kind of on the same page when it came to, big picture stuff. I knew that we kind of wanted this together. We wanted to blend our families together. We kind of both had the whole idea of, because sometimes people get married when they have kids that, because all of our kids were, I don't want to say grown and adults because they obviously weren't, right? It was a long time ago, but
they weren't babies.
They weren't babies, right? Yeah. So some people get together and do
Ashman was pretty little.
Very different type of relationships, right? They definitely have like, those are your kids and these are my kids. And they're, that's a thing. We didn't do that. We just kind of threw it all together and tried to raise them all the same in a sense.
Yeah, I think that actually backfired for us, though.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, right? But
Yeah.
we had this like whole Brady Bunch thing, and it was so fast that there was no separation.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't yours and mine, it was ours, that we took away like some of the individualities of it. And, you know, there is a big part of it that I felt like your dynamics, because, you know, you knew the right way,
Mm-hmm.
overpowered what I felt was right.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have a lot of wound around that is really hard to process through. But it was almost like, oh my God, it's almost like love bombing our kids.
Mm.
You know, let me flesh this one out. I so wanted it to be this safe, loving, healthy home, this connected family where everybody was safe and there for each other and love, like the Brady Bunch on steroids. You know, I so wanted that it wasn't even a lot of natural progression of relationships. It was like I immediately would say that, you know, the two that you brought were my daughters, like my daughters. I never distinguished anything in front of them. And even when I saw that it kind of made uncomfortable, I was like, I just need to show more, just need to. And then it became like really clear that was a conversation that maybe they should have been included on. And, you know, you did the same. And it just like they responded differently. There was also other factors, other players that I didn't know how to do the blended. I had a really good example on how not to do it.
Right.
And I was like, as long as I opposite that, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Are you one of the millions who have completely been swept up by the pickleball craze? The type of paddle you play with is a really important choice that absolutely affects your game. Element 6 pickleball paddles are perfect for the beginner or seasoned pro. Element 6 has created premium pickleball paddles. Don't be like us and just buy the first paddle you come across. Start out with an edge in your game. Start out with a lightweight, stylish, of course you want your paddle to look good, and be U.S.A. PA approved, just in case, you know, you want to take it competitive or professional. Element 6 was founded by two brothers, and all of their products are manufactured right here in our own backyard in Tennessee. And with a wide range of options and free shipping and returns, there's nothing to lose. Right now, you can get yours. Go to stephandcraig.co, click on the Element 6 link, and enter Steph and Craig as a promo code to save you 10% on your order. And as a bonus, Element 6 is also going to send you a free gift with every order. Get yours today, and we'll see you on the courts.
Hey, everybody, you know how we're always talking about healing together on the podcast? Well, today's episode is brought to you by a new company that's going to help you do exactly that. They're called OurRitual. Whether you're looking to grow individually or as a couple, OurRitual offers up personalized pathways designed by their research experts and therapists, all with the focus to help you unlock a deeper connection with yourself as well as your partner. You get full access to not just the therapist, but video exercises and other tools that are going to help you on your path. All of that for far less than regular therapy. So if you're looking for a flexible and affordable way to level up your relationship, check out OurRitual. Their website is OurRitual.com. OurRitual.com. Head over to OurRitual.com right now and take their quiz. This is going to help you personalize the experience so that you get the care and help that you need the most. OurRitual offers an alternative to traditional therapy and makes it more affordable, more accessible, and a much more engaging process through their user-friendly platform. Right now, listeners of the podcast can save 20% on their first month. Simply use the code StephandCraig20 at checkout. Again, that's StephandCraig20 and save 20%. Their website, one more time, is OurRitual.com. You and your relationship are worth it.
Looking for the perfect gift for somebody you love? Try looking beyond material things and get them the most unique gift possible. An unforgettable custom song from Songfinch. Songfinch lets you create an original studio quality song inspired by your own life and the people that you love. It's completely unique, personal, and it lasts forever. Songfinch walks you through a simple 4-step process to create your original song. Just tell them who the song is for, provide them some personal details, and let them know the type of song you want. Then Pick your favorite Songfinch artist or get matched with one, and they'll write it, record it, and produce your custom song in just 4 to 7 days. Go to stephandcraig.co, click on the Songfinch link, and enter promo code Steph and Craig for $20 off your custom song. Missed a whole lot in the middle. So it was a sense of like love, no separation, which you can see the intentions are good.
For sure.
You can see them. But also when we have some clarity and understand individuality and how healthy relationships are actually built.
Yeah, we could have done
you
it
can
so
see like,
differently,
oh my gosh, that had to be so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So overwhelming. And like, what the hell is, not only is it a big shift anyways, but now it's like, we are family. We are like all of this. And
moving
we just,
and changing homes and everybody living together. And
like I feel overwhelmed for them right now. I'm like, whoo, that was a lot. Sorry.
Yeah.
We didn't see that.
Yeah.
Would really like to do that differently now. And things are how they are now. So that's something that I hadn't really had full awareness of on how, because you can look at the things that you like really messed up on, but seeing the things that you thought you were doing right and be like, man, that was so, that was a big one. I haven't seen that one yet. There it is.
I think that I'm trying to think of another expectation that I might have had. I mean, I still have them.
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing too, right? We're talking about this kind of stuff.
I expect you not to have any more expectations.
No more expectations.
Just kidding.
But they are something that I have to continually remind myself to be aware of is my expectations for everything, for life, for how things are going to turn out, how things are going. Do you know what I mean? And when I think about specifically just expectations in regards to our relationship, nowadays it's like I do have, and we've talked about this, like we've actually matured and grown up a little bit and had hard conversations where we're like, hey, this is kind of an expectation that I have in regards to our relationship and building life together. And it's an expectation of you are committed to self-growth.
Yes.
You're committed to working on your healing. And that's an expectation that I have. It's not where there's a certain level of like, well, you're not doing X, Y, or Z, or you haven't done this, that, or the other. It might have looked like that over the years. I know that it has in some ways, especially kind of the ways that expectation gets expressed and communicated. But by and large, nowadays, it's just simply like, yeah, that's
Is that an expectation or is that an agreement that we have? Like for me, my expectation would be that I've had to work on is that you're healing. I'm going to recognize it because it's going to look like mine. I'm going to be able to see when you're healing instead of thinking you're not, because it's going to reflect back in a way. Like I'm going to see it and recognize it and know that you're healing. So that's an expectation. What I'm thinking, right? And just clarify if I'm wrong. But I'm going to continue healing in you. Is that more of, I felt like that was more of an agreement.
I guess.
But I could be wrong.
Right. I don't think that, I think it's kind of semantics on what we want to label these things.
Maybe.
Right. I'm not sure if that's necessarily classified as an agreement
I
or
thought it
an
was.
expectation.
That's interesting.
Well, I mean, I guess because we're looking at this, or I want to look at this from the lens of expectations are bad.
Okay.
Right. Where we all have them and we all carry expectations for ourselves and the people around us. But at the same time, they don't really reflect, expectations are all about me.
Okay.
They're all about my story, my perception, my wants, my needs, my desires. It's all 100% based on Craig's reality. Okay. It has next to nothing to do with you. Because if, like, let's use this, whatever we're calling it, an expectation or, I was going to say boundary. We're not onto boundaries yet.
We haven't even touched boundaries.
Right. In our relationship, we haven't touched boundaries. We're not doing boundaries in this relationship. We've decided just to enmesh completely, no boundaries. The expectation of working on yourself, right? Being committed to self-work and self-growth. If you don't, like, if you just stop that. Okay. Like if you don't meet that expectation of mine, there's, then I have to make choices. Then I have to decide whether or not I want to still be in a relationship with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just so curious about that. I'm like, for me,
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, no, I'm just like, then you're making choices. No, we're not. I'm just like genuinely confused. Because first of all, like I need to let you, it's my brain right now is like, wait a minute.
Are you trying to be too literal with these words?
I think so because I'm like, no, this is an agreement. I thought we had an agreement. I think we even have it on paper somewhere. We wrote down some non-negotiables. So I believe it's a contract now, mister, that you're like, it's an expectation. I'm like, okay, that's a new conversation to have. We need to re-go over our
Maybe that's not the right example.
Well, maybe it's still the conversation that we need to have because clearly we have different understandings of it or expectations of our thought about agreements.
There you go again, Stephanie, with your expectations.
I definitely had, I thought it was an agreement.
It is an agreement.
And so I had an expectation of
that
you.
agreement was going to be upheld.
Yes, but I haven't set a boundary on it because I have boundaries on behaviors, but I don't have boundaries on whether or not you continue to work on yourself.
Yeah.
But if you like make choices that, because like right now, you're a great guy.
Thanks,
you
babe.
are a great person. And if right now you said that you couldn't work on yourself anymore and that you had reached a point where you're good with, I like you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, here's a boundary. Now I can't.
That's a good point.
I like you.
That's a good point.
And I love you just like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. You have done enough work that if you want to stop and just stay where you're at right now, I'm totally down for that. Right. It's not, I mean, in the past, it was like, I've done enough work. I'm pretty sure I'm good. You're like, nope.
Both of us.
We still got lots of problems. This is not back onto the road at this point. You're still in the ditch. This is not the time to quit self-work.
Yeah. You feel like you're doing good right now? Let's look at things.
I'm doing great right now.
Same thing. I'm like, I am feeling my emotions.
Right.
And you're like,
how funny will it be, though, if we fast forward another decade and we look back and we're like, oh my gosh, can you believe? I think that
that's
sometimes
absolutely going to happen.
Where we think we're at is truthfully nowhere near where we have the potential to be. And the more we grow, the more we evolve, the more we change, all those kind of things. But anyways, back to this whole idea of I feel bad bringing this up because now I feel like I've triggered you in some way where like this is not an issue that we have to spend a lot of time on. It's definitely an agreement.
I want clarification, but I'm not triggered.
So what do you need clarification on?
Well, I think we
it's an agreement.
Okay.
I remember the contract.
Okay.
It's something that's important.
Okay.
And if for some reason it like there's not, I understand what you're saying now.
Are you damage controlling right now?
A little bit.
Okay.
I understand what you were saying where there's a boundary, so like if you chose to stop working on healing and growth and self-work and everything like that, it would not mean that I would then have to make some decision about the future of our relationship or moving forward. That's not the case. I might have some conversations with you about your choice and why and all those kind of different things. But truthfully,
and that fits right now. It might not fit in a year.
What do you mean?
Well, like, maybe I just need to let you talk and quit interrupting you. I'm interrupting you like crazy this episode. Continue. I just got thrown. I'm like, that's not what my brain thought we had. So the literal part of me got into hyperdrive and started getting a little like, I need this to be like, I have an understanding. And if it's not that, I need clarification.
Yeah.
I needed it. I needed it to
cousin.
click because it wasn't lining up in my brain and I didn't know how to.
What's the
let
clarification
it go.
part?
We had it.
Are you sure? Because I don't think anything is clear right now.
Okay, you told me it was. Okay. We're going to have to circle back to this. We're going to have to circle back.
Why don't we stay right where we're at?
Okay. I thought you said that you do have awareness of it being an agreement. Why are you looking like, okay. Look, I can only do like my brain is hyper focused right now. I need to breathe. Okay.
I love when you get stuck in your literalness.
It's fun. I'm having a great time right now.
Yeah.
I love it when my brain is like, no, it like sugar is sugar. It is not salt. And do with that what you will. I thought it was an agreement. you communicated it was an expectation, not an agreement, or that it was the same thing. And then we kind of fleshed it out a little bit, and you spoke, and I don't know if it was damage control, because now I'm having like that, can I trust what you said, or were you just trying to make it better? Because now I'm nervous, because I feel like what I thought wasn't actually real, which means I have to reevaluate everything. And what can I trust? What can I touch? Where can I get my touchstones? That's my trauma response coming out and being like, what is safe? What is real? What is my grounding? So it was that moment of like going into myself and being okay for a moment to breathe. But I thought you clarified that it was, you do remember it being an agreement, not a boundary, but an agreement that we had. And we do have the expectation that the other upholds that agreement. And you keep giving me that face, and I'm so scared of why you're looking at me that way. I'm like, what am I saying? That's so weird. Am I just too activated right now? Am I being so weird?
I think we both are.
Okay.
I think it's really, really funny.
So it's funny. Yeah. Like, why did this come up so strong right now?
I don't think this has, because I'm sitting here doing my damnedest to listen to you.
Okay.
And failing miserably.
Oh, are you?
Because I'm recognizing how activated you are.
I know.
But the reason I'm recognizing that is because I'm hyperactive. Like, I'm in my activated level of hyper focus and emotional monitoring and trying to gauge where you're at, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm reflecting back on the last 20 minutes of this podcast, trying to figure out how did we get ourselves to this spot where suddenly we have an issue about non-issues.
Right. And we made an issue over a non-issue.
I think it all originated with when we started talking about the kids. And that time period, back in the beginning of our relationship, where you and I both have so much trauma and wound around that and how that all went down. And I think the majority of it is all, like, I know I'm super critical of myself and how I managed all of that stuff, all of the things surrounding us blending our families together and moving in together and raising kids together. And I wish that I would have done things so differently. Across so many different ways.
Me too.
So I think that's what happened in this last little bit, where that sparked both of our nervous systems. And then we both went on to just like, what are you saying? I have to watch everything. What's going on?
Right.
Suddenly, if I don't work on, is it a conception, a misconception, a perception?
I know what's the right words. I have to say the right words.
All these different things, right?
Yes.
And then this is actually a good thing for me to recognize of you.
Of me? Okay.
Right. When you are in your literal state of mind, right?
Yes.
Like when you very much want things clear, and when you're in that space, that should be like tell all that you're super activated.
Yeah, I'm like a little kid in that moment. I'm very scared.
Yeah, you're very much in that bounce between, okay, I'm slightly frozen. I'm trying not to dissociate. I'm trying not to go to anger. I'm trying to manage this fight, flight, freeze, fawn response and be here. But in order for me to feel safe, everything needs to be crystal clear.
Yes.
Everything needs to be very, very easy to understand, and it needs to match and line up with what I've already got as far as the story goes in my head.
Or I need a new understanding.
Or you need a new understanding.
Like, I don't like not understanding. I don't like being confused, because it's so scary, because I'm definitely going to get it wrong. And there's massive consequences and punishments. I have to get it right. And I don't have to be right, but I have to get it right. And so if I have this understanding, and it's the thing, but if it's not that, then it's either I need it fixed or I need to understand the new way with complete clarity, or it's just,
it's so hard to move forward, isn't it?
It's so hard to move forward. And also, not only did it start with the conversation with the kids, and when we were talking about how we did that as a parent, which absolutely, like that lit up. But before the podcast, and where I was actually kind of leaning what I was going to talk about, I had a really big process that I went through this morning. Big emotional, that was deep trauma work, deep processing, deep. And I'm just like in there, like working through it, and the visual, and and sobbing. Yeah. Sobbing. And I'm like, I had this big thing, and I was like, I wonder if I should talk about that. And then we come on and start with politics, and I'm like, okay, what's this? And so I came in an activated that I didn't communicate. I also thought I was going to talk about it on the podcast a little bit, and then we started hitting all these triggers which turned me into a very literal individual. Like that was like live action trauma response coming out over here.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish we would have touched base before we sat down and recorded and said, hey, what are we going to talk about on today's episode?
Right.
We usually do a pretty good job of that.
We usually do. And I thought because we hadn't, that it was going to be one of those where we can just see what comes up. And I'm like, I'm going to talk about this thing.
And you know what I was doing?
Oh my gosh, I'm so nauseous right now.
Take a drink. Take a break.
What were you doing?
I was doing what I was doing because I wasn't present for what you're talking about this morning, right? What you went through, the trauma that you processed this morning and the whole experience that you had. And I really want you to share that right now. Like I invite you to get into it and talk about it and share it. I think that's really important.
I don't know about that.
But what I was doing, because you had somewhat of a rough morning, an emotional morning, was I was trying to take care of everything so that you don't have to do anything. I didn't want to stress you out. I didn't want to have, I was just going to have like some topics and some ideas that we could jump on. So then you could just simply show up and be your beautiful self and just talk and relax and not have to worry about stuff. And here we are. So
then when I got activated, you're like, I failed. I like all of that came up to where that was hard for you. Wow. Might go back and rewatch this just so I can catch the little signs and nuances. Well, it's like we have a benefit here. There's part of me that's
there was a
really...
way we could have figured out how to make this work. If only we would have talked about it and said, what do you think we should discuss? Go ahead.
I'm curious of, I'm going to, it's just interesting. Like I have those little sparks now of just watching the level of activation that I'm in and how I show up in that space. Like right now, I'm starting to feel like shut down. I'm starting and I'm like, wow, this is a funny process, but it's taken me through this entire cycle. And now I'm feeling extra vulnerable. I'm feeling stupid. And I'm feeling I literally feel like my body's shrinking in on itself. Like that. I wonder if I can have a process without reverting to that, to where then I want to disappear and hide away. And it's like, and how often is that there? Do I always feel like I want to disappear and hide away after? Is it only right now? Is it only when the camera's in my face? Like this is something that I know used to be prominent, but I don't feel like has been that prominent. Also, I learned right off the bat that receipts has been a thing, so it might still be pretty prominent.
The receipts are jokes.
But they're not.
I mean, they're definitely a joke.
It's like, what is it, The Big Bang Theory? It's funny because it's true, If you
go your whole life with receipts and boxes of receipts and taking pictures of receipts, I'm still madly in love with you.
That's
good. It's going to be okay.
That's good.
It's not a deal breaker for me.
That's really good to know.
Also, choosing to not continually work on yourself, not a deal breaker for me at this point. Had it been back in the day, then maybe I would have had to make some different decisions. But you've reached a level of healing.
Did I do it? Did I succeed? Did I win? I feel the same with you. Like that's, but it is very much that whole and I don't know. Yeah.
Well, baby, I don't know where we're floating adrift now.
We are.
Because I really want to create the space for you to be able to process and share what you had come up.
I don't know if it fits on this episode. I think it might fit for another episode. I don't know what this episode is. Right? It's expectations and the IRS. I mean, we clearly defined
the expectations that we have of the IRS.
Right?
By the way, you're not meeting them.
No.
IRS, you have failed all of our expectations significantly.
Right.
No, let's do that. Let's share what you wanted to share.
It's much harder now. Like I'm feeling like I got nervous here. So stepping into that space where I'm going to be really, really vulnerable, it's going to take me a sec. Like I don't know if I can
just go there immediately.
Well, I got really activated. And so there's part of my nervous system that has to resettle down. You're smiling. And we're seeing, like, see right there, you start smiling like that. And I'm like, I'm doing something wrong. I'm stupid.
You're not doing anything
That's
wrong.
how
I was smiling at myself because I'm like, baby, you're fine. Relax. Just talk.
Be vulnerable. Go.
I know,
it's
right?
fine.
I like your nervous system will be just fine. There's nothing
Right?
wrong here. Nothing to come down from. Everything's fine.
I really do want to talk about it because I think it's, whether it's just, you know, I've learned how to process a lot on this podcast, but there's like people when they hear it, you know, sometimes. So, but I just don't know that it's I don't feel like I feel emotionally safe enough for it right now. I got to give myself a little bit more space to regulate and see where else it goes. This is something that just opened up for me, and I'm going to work on it a little deeper and keep going. There's so much now that, like, obviously, you know, if you've been watching, you know that I've experienced a big life change and that a lot has happened. And if you've been listening for a long time, then you know that there's probably a lot of baggage tied into this. And if not, then stay tuned. I'll get into it. But I'm getting the opportunity to reflect on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And my body also was letting me know recently, it was yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, that I kind of I went into shutdown mode. You know, I got home and just kind of.
Just context again. I know that I mean, you mentioned it, but I mean, your dad passed away.
Yes.
That's what you've been dealing with for the past month. And so it's been a really, really big deal.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so much more than that. You know, it's that, it's dealing with all of the unhealed like trauma in that relationship, all the unhealed relationship itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's choices I had to make in Utah. It's choices that other people are making that are scaring the hell out of me. It's, oh my goodness, I don't want to sit here and boob.
They're down below if you need them, babe. I can grab them for
my
you.
Boobs?
Just look down.
They're down below. There we go. Who brings up laughter as a trauma to not, right? Do with it. Thank you for the tissues. But it's giving me so much opportunity, and I kind of went into shutdown. It was interesting. I wasn't able to eat very much at all in Utah. And we got back and it's like, what the fuck? I can't stop eating now. You know, it's like the responses are different with the environment. And I ended up getting vertigo. And just like, I was feeling sick and tired all day. And then there was a point of the TV and I was just like, oh gosh, I was so nauseous, but I couldn't tell what was happening because it's hard sometimes when things are moving already.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling good. I was laying down. I kept falling asleep. Like throughout the day, I kept just like falling asleep. At one point you were talking to me and you're like, am I putting you to sleep? And I'm like, no, I'm here. I was just feeling so terrible. And I looked out the window. I let my eyes gaze to the window, and as it naturally goes. And then it kept going. And I'm like, oh, I know what's happening. So luckily there's this really cool YouTube video that is my go-to because
it's not the first time you've had it.
Yeah, it's not. Vertigo comes up in my space occasionally. I've had it, like I said, I told you, a handful of times. It's always during really big transitions, big emotional shifts, big things that are happening. And so it's like, here's one theory of, you know, vibration is shifting and rising. And there's another one of not feeling safe, secure, balanced, unstable. Like there's all of these different ways that it comes up. And I believe both.
Right.
And then you'll have like, it's the crystals in your ear. Well, that's how I treated it. But it was just funny that how.
That's so funny. There's because you've got the energetic perspective of why vertigo exists and happens, right? Where your vibration is rising and you're leveling up and all of these kind of things. And then you've got the emotional aspect of it where.
Chances are you've heard us talk about merino wool because we love it, and you're going to hear us talk about it again. We decided it was really important to us to start bringing in and wearing natural fibers that were good for our health. Woolly Clothing offers 100% merino wool, natural fabric, which is a healthier choice compared to the other synthetics that are often made with plastics. I've been wearing their underwear, their athletic tees, their shirts, and I stole Craig's pants because those are my favorite things to sleep in. Don't worry, he went and got himself his own pair. They're durable, they have tons of versatile styles, and it also really helps when you're trying to wick away all that moisture that they're also odor resistant. They're easy to take care of and also eco-friendly. So head over to stephandcraig.co right now, click on the Woolly link and enter the promo code Steph and Craig and get 15% off of your order. If you're ready for natural fibers that feel good on your skin, help regulate your temperature, keep you dry, don't stink, and on top of all of that, look really good. Go pick yourself up some clothes from Woolly now. How long have you been using those same nonstick pans that are all scratched up and scraped, not cooking well, and putting off those flecks of that non-scratch surface into your food? It's terrible for you. Do you still have those? We started getting serious about not only the food that we were putting in our bodies, but what we were cooking that food on. So we switched to American-made stainless steel cookware by Heritage Still. Heritage Still is a family-owned business located right here in Tennessee. They have been building great stainless steel clad cookware for over 40 years. They're versatile for all cooktops. They're oven safe, easy to clean, and they have a lifetime warranty. We switched out all our pans, and I am so glad we did. I love cooking with our Heritage Still pans, and I love the fact that when I'm cooking for my kids, my family, I have the peace of mind to know that it's safe for them to eat the food that I'm making. Head over to stephandcraig.co and click on the Heritage Still link, and make sure you enter promo code Steph and Craig to save 10% on your order. Start cooking healthier for you and your family today.
You've got obvious emotions going on, things you're struggling to look at, deal with, face, all these kind of things emotionally. And then, like you said, the way that you solved the problem was from the physical perspective of like, oh yeah, this is, tilt my head this way, that way, and the other way. And then
that was my first step. Absolutely. Because if you have vertigo, if you've experienced it before, you are just like, we're done.
I've only do you remember I got it?
I think so.
But I think mine was in conjunction with probably exactly the same stuff,
remember.
Right?
Did you try the YouTube video?
I did.
Showed it to you.
That's what worked.
Yeah, that's what worked. It's seriously this thing. If you have vertigo and you need a link to this video,
go find the YouTube video.
Right?
With the one that we're talking about. We're not going to link it anywhere.
No? Okay.
No, I'm teasing.
I mean, I totally will. It helps. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And then if you haven't recognized it soon enough, I didn't recognize it soon enough. If you recognize it soon enough, it usually starts to feel better right away. But if you don't recognize it soon enough, then you've gone too far. Then it gets worse before it gets better.
Yeah, you got to ride that train a little bit.
You have to ride that train, which is crawling to the bathroom and just being sick and just and then going to bed and then sleeping for I was in bed for over 12 hours.
Yeah, you definitely.
I just was I can't.
You needed some rest, babe.
I'm getting nauseous thinking about it. It's funny how the psychosomatic is I don't feel good. But that was it. And then I was I wanted to be well enough because we had plans to go have breakfast with our friends. And I was back. And I really wanted to go do that. So I was I will feel good enough to show up tomorrow. I'm not canceling the day of. I am not canceling. And be turns out I don't feel good. I'm not doing that. It would have been fine. But I didn't want to. And so instead, I was really awkward there the whole time. I'm just trying to not feel sick. And I wanted life, I wanted back into life. And that was it was such a loving gesture for them. And I didn't canceling the morning of is obviously it happens, but you don't need to do that. Right.
Yeah. That whole thing of just wanting life, though, wanting to participate in your life and have some sense of normalcy.
Yeah.
I get that.
So I had the awareness that I'm clearly not working on the stuff as much as I should be, or that I've given myself time to rest. And now my body is saying, if we don't do something, we're going to hurt and we're going to shut down. So now it's time. And
we tried fixing it with sugar.
We did. Oh my God.
Right. Our plan worked great. It worked really well. We watched the new Beetlejuice last night and ate all the sugar, just all of it.
All of it.
If you're curious where your sugar went, it's in our bellies. We ate it all.
And
then we proceeded to burp and fart and sleep terribly all night long.
Why do you say we all the time? I didn't.
You're right. That was just me.
Oh no.
With the burps and the farts and the uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was an unpleasant household last night.
You just looked like Sleeping Beauty.
Did I? I look like
You're just over there resting peacefully in the forest.
Not a sound.
Head rested on the pillow. Nothing's wrong there.
Oh my goodness. So we were farting all night. But this morning I took it literal and I started working and I went through a process. And when the opportunity presented itself, first I was making excuses and then I leaned into it. And then I tried to half-ass it because I was starting it while I was just listening to something and I was doing makeup, getting ready to record. And instead of just, because so many times I'll do like multiple things at once. I will work on a healing meditation while I'm getting ready, while I'm, you know what I mean? I'm like, I can make it all happen at once. I've got to do this and this and this. I can't, if I stop to do one thing, then this isn't getting done and this isn't getting done and this is going to suffer. But if I don't do it, it's going to, like, the only way to do it is to do it all at once.
Tell me you have ADHD without telling me that you have ADHD.
So I've got a system, okay? But this morning, as it started coming up, I just stopped what I was doing and I went into the process and was working it and sobbing and standing in the closet, because closets and bathrooms are where I do a good amount of work, and just like let it flow. And you were in the room.
Yeah, I was in our bedroom.
Right.
You were in our closet.
And it's, that's funny. But I didn't let that hinder either. I let myself be completely immersed in that moment. And it was an experience that I haven't let myself have. And it was big. So I do have more work to do on it. And I'm going to talk about it because, this is something that we're all going to experience, not necessarily having, a parent pass in your life, but it's likely. And what I'm referring to as grief is having grief of trying to figure out a new normal, of having to try and figure out, working through trauma, working through like, this isn't a unique experience that I'm having.
It's like a human experience.
It's a human experience. Yeah. And my experience of it is unique, and your own experience of it is what makes it unique. But we all have these experiences. Yeah. And it's just how we deal with it. So I'm definitely going to talk about it. Mm-hmm. But I think that's as deep as I'm going to go with it right now. And also, like, you can see how when you're working on stuff and when you have stuff coming up, that an easy conversation can turn into a reactive conversation. Because I had reactions. I was being reactive.
Just in now?
No, not just now, but
earlier this morning. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get all the space. You know that. I mean, I've told you that. You get all the grace and space to process and feel all these different things. And I think we were talking about it yesterday too, where it's like neither one of us have gone through this, right? This is the first time that either one of us, obviously we've gone through death together in a sense, right? We've had grandparents that have passed and other family members and things like that. But this is the first time that either one of us has had a parent pass away. Yeah. And it's going to bring up, obviously, so much. We both have lots of baggage with both of our parents, and it's going to be a journey.
Yes.
And this is just the first step of it.
Yes.
Right? You're going first, and I'm getting to process things along with you, through you, vicariously, while watching you go through it, while supporting you through it. All of these kind of different things that is a unique experience in and of itself, kind of, right? And a lot of what you have been going through is, when I say triggering, I'm not talking about it in the, negative sense of, oh, it's triggering me, but it also is bringing stuff up for me, obviously, right? It's bringing up things for me to feel and process and think about and sit with and all of those kind of different things. And
how could it not?
Of course, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I think is really, and I say fascinating, it's not like, what's the right word? I mean, I'm not fascinated by like, oh my gosh, everybody come look at this thing. It's such a fascinating thing, right? But I'm also, I look at it from the perspective of like, I'm really grateful. And I do think that it is kind of fascinating to watch and witness like the healing process firsthand. Like I'm watching it happen.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And there is a part of me, and I've, this is probably a part of me that is from childhood that is probably dissociated. That's, all of these kind of different things where I will watch things from the outside, even if they are things that I am a part of in a sense. So yes, I'm watching you and I'm with you and I'm definitely present in the moment and in the relationship and going through this space with you and everything like that. But I'm also observing it. And I find it really fascinating just from like the human experience part of it and seeing what you're going through and how it plays out and the way that it manifests. And, you asked me yesterday a question about, because a lot of stuff, luckily, like I'm so grateful that we're at the place in our relationship that we're at where we have an understanding of how to support each other in really, really healthy ways and how to support each other in really challenging experiences, right? You and I have done a lot of work around it. And one of the big things that I'm super grateful for that we put in the reps is just listening, just being present and hearing, right? So much of this is just getting a space to actually verbalize and express and feel without anything else to worry about, anything else to do, right? And just the ability to kind of sit with you and allow that to take place. I'm really, really grateful that we have that. That's like a skill set that neither one of us, because you didn't used to lean in and share. That's not a judgment, obviously. I
didn't take it that way.
Yeah, it's just the recognition of the act of being able to hold space for somebody to express emotion and to feel and to communicate and all those kind of things, as well as the act of being the person who is doing the expression and the feeling and all of those kind of things. Those are two very distinct things that I think are critical for healthy relationships, but they're also two very distinct things that are really hard for people. It's hard to just sit and be with somebody in discomfort and not solve and not come up with a solution, not empathize, not try to make it okay with words and with actions. And then it's also hard to be the person expected, and expected is incorrect, right? There's no expectation, but I'm sure it feels like that sometimes, where it's hard to be the person that's expected to do the expressing and to do the communicating and to do the feeling part of it. And because you and I have done a lot of reps in that area where you're the one that's doing the talking, I'm doing the listening, vice versa, all those kind of things. Like these are the moments in time where it comes into play, where we get to lean on this skill set that we've developed. And I'm so grateful that we have it, because it hasn't always been the case.
It hasn't.
I look at what we are navigating right now in our life, and it's been a difficult month. It's been a difficult couple of months, Summer of Steph and Craig was amazing. We had a beautiful summer. So much awesomeness and so many wonderful things. This year has been amazing. And as the summer started to come to an end, life started to get really interesting for us and started to throw us a whole bunch of curveballs. And this is just the latest one. And it's one of those that we have been managing and mitigating and moving through, but I also think that we have been doing it in a really healthy way. Like we joked a minute ago about eating a ton of sugar and watching Beetlejuice, right? Out of all of the coping mechanisms that you and I have, the fact that we're just eating some sugar on a, Sunday night watching a movie versus some of the other things that could be taking place and some of the other ways that we used to move through things. And I don't feel like there's tension between us. I don't feel like we're arguing and fighting. Sometimes in the past when things would get really difficult, then we kind of push away from each other and create these shields around ourselves in order to protect. And I don't feel like that's happening at all. And I'm really grateful for that.
Me too.
I think it's been really, really awesome that we've been able to do that. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's what putting in the work gives us, right?
I'm going to need some more naps today. I think I'm really tired.
Yeah. You get to take them, baby. You get to rest.
Or just sit there and just keep nodding off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea of, I mean, we're talking about grief. It's all of these things that you're navigating and going through right now. There isn't a wrong or a right way to do it. So if you need to take more naps today, if you need to rest today, if you need to do whatever it is that you need to do today and tomorrow and next week, and it's like you get the opportunity and the space to do all of those things. Because I think and humans do this, right? We have the luxury, and I'm really, really grateful for that as well, right? I feel really blessed in a sense that we get the opportunity to, you didn't have to figure out vacation time, and you didn't have to, do all these different things that oftentimes people have to do in order to try to mitigate personal lives with a job and with a career. You're able to just heal and recover and rest and do what you need to do. And I'm really, really happy that we have a life where that's the case, because it's so really freaking hard.
Especially even with like little kids, like I'm trying to navigate it with little, we still have kids that are affected deeply, very deeply by this. And like it's definitely, I don't even want to say a privilege. Like that's what it is. It's definitely
it is a privilege, but it's
this space.
It's one that we created. Like we're privileged in a sense that we live the life that we live, but at the same time, we created it. Yeah. We're living this life because of choices and decisions that we made. Yeah. And this is one of those happy byproducts, is we get the space to grieve. We get the space to heal. We don't have to shove all of that stuff down and then go back to work on Monday. Right. And have to deal with regular life and society and culture and everything telling us, well, that sucks. That's really hard. That's hard. Anyways, we're going to need those reports by noon. So if you could get on that would be great. Yeah. We don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Fill on your own time here, show up. Yeah. We don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah. I feel like, culture, society, everybody could do way more at giving grace and space and understanding. I mean, truthfully, we're talking about death and grief and everything right now, but the reality is we never know what people are going through.
Never.
Right? Just never have any understanding of what people are navigating. And so the whole idea that how you and I are talking right now, and this beautiful thing of being able to support each other and give each other space and all this patience and understanding to go through life, however you're needing to go through life, that's how we should do all life. That's how we should meet everybody. Right? That's how we should give everybody that same grace and understanding, that it's like, I don't know what you've got going on in your life right now. It might be amazing and great. It might be some of the hardest stuff that you've ever navigated. But regardless, you get all the space to just be and exist and move through it however you need to move through it. And I think that would be, obviously that would be a much better world, right?
I agree with that.
A much happier place, but
yes,
we can do that.
Can.
We're starting now.
Yeah, right now.
This is where it starts. It's what old Ram Dass always says, right? All I can do is work on me.
Yes.
That's all I can do. If I'm trying to change the world and heal everything, I can only start here and do this stuff. Yeah. And then we do our best to talk about it on the podcast.
We do.
Right?
Sometimes messily.
We got really messy. Like
this one was messy.
We didn't get really messy.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we were fighting and arguing and this was like a big messy thing.
But
it got a little rocky there for a minute where I didn't know where we were going to go.
Absolutely. Like you're watching activation speak to activation. Yeah. You're watching like trauma responses taken forward and been like, what are you looking at? I was literally like, why are you looking at me that way?
Yeah, it got a little rocky in the middle. And not even in the middle, in the beginning. It was a little scary.
Right? Whenever you start with politics, it's going to be...
Good point.
Right?
Mental note. Save politics for the end. Right. So anyways, Trump, right? What are we going to do about that? I love you, baby.
I love you.
Thank you, everybody, for supporting the podcast and also being understanding and patient with us as we move through life on our side of the street and what we're dealing with and what we're going through and navigating. And our goal has always been with the podcast, like from day one, is to show you this experience of life that we're living over here in an effort to help you on your experience of life that you're living over there. And that means that it's going to be messy sometimes and confusing and kind of chaotic. And guaranteed this isn't the last time that that's going to be the case. But again, the whole purpose and goal is to just help each other, meaning we're helping you and you're helping us. And we're just going through this process of trying to figure out how to heal through life together, because it's really stinking hard. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I mean, life is the most incredible thing. And there's nothing that I do harder.
Right.
Right. There's nothing harder than life. Life is the hardest thing that I do. Right. You ask me, what's the hardest thing? Life.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing. And life, because life includes relationships and other people, right? That's what makes it hard. Mm-hmm. Like if I was just by myself, actually I was by myself for a few weeks when you were in Utah, right? It was really hard. But no, that's what it's all about, is relationships and communication and connection and all those kind of different things. But it's stinking hard.
It is. The hard lets in the good.
Right? Yeah. I don't know if that's a thing.
Well,
the hard lets in the good.
Well, like your capacity to feel difficult things means the greater capacity you have to feel wonderful things.
Yeah.
So the contrast is needed, even though it
it's funny because it's needed, it's necessary, and it's also like out of your control.
Yes, it is.
You don't have a choice.
Right.
I'm only choosing good things.
Right.
I'm not choosing bad things. Cool. Let me know how that works for you.
I live a life of no contrast, only pleasantry. I mean, I tried, but
got to take it all.
Yes.
And we'll share it on the podcast. So expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
And we'll see everybody soon.
We got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
We want to make something perfectly clear. This podcast is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a substitute for professional advice. We're sharing with you our own personal experiences and insights, things we have found to be helpful on our healing journey. But we are not licensed therapists. If you need help, it's important to seek out a qualified professional. Remember, we believe that we all do better when we heal together. See you soon.